So my grandparents lived in Fort Lauderdale, Florida when I was a kid, and this was a great place to go visit once or twice a year, perhaps the greatest place, because they had Wanna-Do motherfucking City at Sawgrass Mills Mall. Okay, so first, to establish what I'm even talking about, Wanna-Do City was an indoor, role-playing, kids-only amusement park advertised as a place where you could do what you want to do. It was a miniature, child-sized replica city that basically fulfilled every kid's fantasy of being an adult and having all the freedom in the world. You could try out various jobs and career paths where you would earn your own version of currency called wongas that you could buy real shit with. I don't exactly remember what, but I do recall buying some popcorn and cotton candy at a stand with my money. You could also definitely purchase ride tickets for like the carousel and other fair-related activities. I saved the rest of my cash though in the Wanna-Do City Bank, where I was even issued an ATM card upon opening an account and taught about the value of putting money away. This all sounds chaotic as shit, I'm sure, and it just barely was. Some parts were better than others, but it was at least a safe way for families to spend the day. Kids would be given a tracker bracelet upon entering, and parents would be brought to a lounge-type area where they could monitor their children and generally just hang out. I think there was alcohol and stuff available too. I don't know, I never went up there. According to Wanna-Do City, there was over 100 jobs to try out and interact with, but I'm not so sure about that because the map right here only has like 40 or 50 spots on it. Either way, I maybe did like 10 or 15. The firefighter one was a fan favorite, obviously, and so was the doctor job. This big ass plane right here. Probably something everyone remembers. The airplane pilot simulator one was cool, but I remember trying to do it, and this little girl next to me wouldn't shut the fuck up the entire time. It was so distracting. She just kept like yelling and screaming and asking for help. And you know, the workers there are clearly very busy running around, teaching a group of 20 or 30 children at a time trying to fly a fucking airplane. I did like going and shopping at the local Publix though. Publix is the chain of grocery store in Florida. Both shopping there as a customer, buying fake food was fun, and working there as an employee, helping people check out. The criminal investigator gig, it was intense, man. It had you wearing a detective jacket and scouring the whole city in search for clues about an ongoing mystery. I don't recall what it was, but it was exciting to find things involved in the case in very ordinary places across the whole property. In the end, though, you had to present your findings, and the guy we debriefed with was not nice to us about our research. I think he failed me and my older brother, which made him cry. Shit was intense. It was like a memory exam, from what I remember. I felt bad for my older brother, though. I was too little for it to bother me, but I could tell he worked really hard on cracking that case. Anyways, what else? The bakery was neat. I think you got to eat your creation. There was a TV news studio where you could do reports and whatnot. You could also direct and star in your very own stage plays and... Wait.
Hey, that's not allowed.
My favorite by far had to be this archaeology explorer job. It was so fucking cool. It really made me believe that being Indiana Jones was possible. You basically got to go dig around in this old ancient temple, and you'd find all sorts of artifacts buried there in the sand. Someone in your group would eventually find the golden monkey idol guy, which then would lead to further discoveries in the temple, like hidden treasure rooms. Some badass shit, man. I'm telling you, it was incredible. Unfortunately, everything I'm telling you here is just a thing of the past now. They had to shut down Wanna-Do City entirely in 2011 due to general financial collapse. It never fully recovered from the recession, and it did not get much traction whenever school was in session, which makes sense. I think some places were taking field trips there, but not a lot. But I will never forget this magically wonderful place because it was unlike anything I'd ever done or seen before. So ambitious, so out of the box. I think I had been walking around this whole time believing it might have just been too forward-thinking to ever be sustainable, but actually, I was unaware until I did research for this video that it was an expansion from a much more successful project started by a group of entrepreneurs in Mexico called Ciudad de los Niños. After opening a few locations in Mexican cities, they rebranded to Kidzania and went on to open more parks across the world. I was shocked to learn that there were about 30 active Kidzanias currently operating around the globe right now. The reason I was because there's only one of them in the US, and it's in Dallas, Texas. Is it being received nicely? Yeah, kinda. This had me thinking though, what would a current day Kid City look like? If they were to open a new one, how would it match the cultural landscape of today? Kids these days don't want to be firefighters or policemen. They want to be influencers and podcasters and Twitch streamers. They want to be Mr. Beast. Gone are the days of traditional careers anyways. One critique you'll often hear about this generation of 20-somethings is how unprepared and unequipped they are to deal with the real world, and that we baby them too much. Now they're all riddled with depression and anxiety. I think a lot of our dissatisfaction with life comes from when that notion we all had about adulthood, of being total freedom and independence, gets crushed to smithereens. We realize that being an adult is even more confining and overwhelming than childhood ever was. The only time we have is dedicated to being serious about our responsibilities and maintaining ourselves just to stay afloat mentally and financially. So I'd rather address that feeling of impending doom right off the bat and introduce these kids to the reality of this dystopian world early on. They need to be prepared, you feel me? So this is my Wanna Do City. Wanna Do City 2.0. First of all, entry to Wanna Do City is not free. In fact, you can't even pay to be here, like the old one. Actually, you know what? It depends. How much money are you offering? But unless you got several racks burning a hole in your pocket, I'm not letting you in. Lack of ticket sales sunk this thing, and I won't let that happen again. So the best way to sell all the tickets is to sell none of them. Unless you got them bands. This will make it feel exclusive and only for a privileged few to enjoy.
Expecting to get up to see the lantern.
I can deny you.
So how do you get in? Only kids born to parents who went to the original Wanna Do City can belong to this new city as citizens. This provides a more family-oriented experience. You can pitch the greatness of the city to your kids, and they'll be sold when you tell them about your time there and how much happier you were when you were a kid and how your days were just filled of whimsical creativity. But what about kids who aren't born to former citizens? How do they join us? Well, you don't, unless you want to sneak in illegally. But that's going to be difficult because that's where my first job comes into play. Pre-existing members of Wanna Do City 2 can try their hand at working for NICE, the non-illegal child enforcement agency. Here, you'll round up any kids that look like they're not supposed to be there and escort them off the premises. Think of it like cops and robbers. This also kills two birds with one stone, as now we don't have to worry about hiring and paying actual security guards with our real money. We can just pay these children with fake money. You're probably wondering about the other jobs, and I'll get to that, but after your parents prove that they were a citizen at one point, they take you to the Wanna Do Learning Center, which gives you a quick lowdown on what to expect and skills you might need when you enter the workforce. We can't teach all the kids all the things though, because attention spans are short. So we're gonna ask right here and there and have them pick what job they want to learn how to do before they do it. You could say, Riley, they're just children. They haven't even been taught independence yet. How are we gonna expect them to make such a decision? That's kind of it. This forces them to be thinkers for themselves. Educating the kids first on stuff about the job they think they'd like to do will help them do it easier, and it will also help show off the principle that once you make a choice, it's not that easy to go back. This is going to create a much smoother transition than the old one. Way better. But we're also going to hit them with a fun twist at the end, so there's more of a goal to this new city. The last one was sort of aimless, and I never really knew what I was saving my money for. I just knew I needed to. We don't want kidflation, and the dollar needs to really mean more than just ride tickets and candy bars. You see, when you first entered the original Wanna-Do City, you'd get a couple $100 to start out, and you could earn more by working jobs of your choice and trying out new activities. We can't be teaching our kids to expect handouts, so after they finish their training in the classroom, they're going to be told they now owe 20,000 wongas in debt before they've even hit the job market. This will motivate them and give them a reason to keep doing different jobs and thus stay in the park longer. If a child is upset by this reveal, we can blame their parents for not giving them the other option, which is skipping the introduction class and starting out in the city with nothing. And if that doesn't work, we can just reassure them that they are now more likely to be advanced at their job as opposed to the non-training class kids who are just fucking subhumans. So, okay, how do you get a job now? Back in the day, if you wanted to do a job in the city, I don't really know actually, you kind of just showed up and did one, or maybe you went to an office to book a time slot. This is too structureless though. It leaves kids wandering around confused. They need clear directions because, again, they aren't taught to think for themselves yet, really. So the first step is to go to one of the computer terminals around the park and go on Indeed and LinkedIn to apply to the selection of job listings we offer. These will be our first sponsors and means of actually bringing in real cash flow. The old Wanna-Do had brands like Nestle, Coca-Cola, State Farm, and more backing it, which helped bring in ad revenue. We need modern brands now, such as these, to bridge the gap. The virtual application system will avoid overcrowding or long waits at certain attractions, which are like the worst things at any theme park, you know? Now, you can't just pick up a job like at the old Wanna-Do City and pop in. Real life doesn't work like that, and this new city will reflect that. To get accepted for a job, now you either have to know somebody who works there already, or you need to have worked another Wanna-Do City job at least 10 times in order to qualify. You know, you gotta prove you got the experience to handle a completely new profession. This is a feature that will really ease some tensions on the actual job sites so kids aren't aimlessly figuring out how it works as they go. There's also a kind of third option for job acquisition, but that option is where you have to pay extra to get in. That's why I wasn't going to talk about it right away. Think of it like Disney's Fast Pass system, where you can hop in front of the queue for a little extra change. This is also where the grad school kid pipeline starts. For this, you have to pay like 100,000 wongas or take out another loan from the bank in that amount. Once you're in, you're basically just in a classroom the whole day. I don't know, some kids might just not feel comfortable testing the waters of the job market yet, and that's okay. We need to have that option for them. After all, the Wanna-Do intro classroom is a place of ideas, and they just might want to stay there all day if that's what makes them feel more secure. School might be all these kids know, so it's helpful to have a familiar setting they can place themselves in. If they want to leave after the mandatory extra however many hours, they will be a priority applicant when the next job site has a spot that needs to be filled. This way, people who don't really care about how much money they spend at the park can maximize their experience. All right. You guys are probably waiting long enough. What kind of careers was I thinking of putting into this new park that fits the modern agenda? First off, you gotta have the work from home profession. That wasn't around back in the early 2000s, obviously. I'm thinking this is one where it's just like kids in a fake playhouse on Microsoft Teams learning to use that and organizing meetings. Also, for accurate simulation of this activity, the ending to this scenario would be their company either telling them they're fired or that they need to come back into the office for full-time work from now on. This can be a good segue into the scam call center career path. Like, it's a scenario where you and a bunch of other kids are cold calling other children and telling them their socials leaked or there's some suspicious charges on their kid bank account that they don't even have, and that the only way to resolve it is to go to the Wanna-Do City Bank, withdraw all of their money, and then spend it on DoorDash gift cards, and then mail them to a guy named Greg in Bangladesh. Speaking of which, the DoorDash path should be another playable scenario. You don't really know the struggle if you don't have a dasher phase, so we need to teach the kids grit early on. It's good to get a head start, you know. You can pick up the food from Kid Potle and deliver them to other kids around the city. There's got to be like the super official looking building for one of the jobs, but it's really an MLM. Like, advertise and get the kids interested in white collar work by showing everybody who's walking into the building in suits and shit. Maybe even have them go to a free meeting where a guy leading it looks all businessy, but maybe on the projector it's just like a picture of a pyramid. This will give the kids who just got to the park or just finished the intro class something to do while they wait for job openings to generate. Speaking of pyramid schemes, you definitely have to have the job selling solar panels. You're not actually like an employee at these companies. You're like hired as a temporary contract worker who just goes door to door selling with an iPad. Real talk. I remember when I was looking for jobs, this one baffled me because of how prevalent the business model was. There was like 1,000 solar companies looking for this exact line of work. Did you know that they technically don't get breaks? Yeah, like you're not an employee at these. They don't even have to give you a lunch. I remember one guy posting a review about the job saying that they just made him eat lunch in the van they'd stick them all in when driving to another neighborhood to go sell door to door. So basically, for this scenario, we need to have like a play neighborhood. In the old Wanna Do City, for the firefighter job, you'd all go to the fire station, the bell would ring, you'd suit up in your firefighter gear and drop down the fire pole, and there would be a real mini working fire truck you'd all get in, and they'd drive you to this burning building down the street that you'd spray down with water. It was awesome, super immersive. So I want to recreate that experience as much as possible. And now I'm imagining something like that, but it's some random dude's van instead of a fire truck. And instead of a burning building, you can just go harass people in the play neighborhood. Matter of fact, no, let's just go to another job site. Let's have them hound the work from home kids. I was going to start bringing in the internet entertainment jobs, but then I checked the Kidzania website, and holy shit, they actually have them already. Like, there's really a podcast and influencer studio. Maybe they're teaching them how to make good thumbnails or how to engagement bait people on TikTok. I don't know. But that's what I would do in my version. They did, however, forget to add the SoundCloud rapper studio. We need them to know that there's still a possibility someone could do that. Someone needs to be producing lo-fi hip-hop beats to relax and study to. That's going to be a nostalgic point for a lot of children. A lot of kids still want to be pro athletes, and we want to help them live that dream. That's something the old Wanna Do City did not have. But it's only going to be 1 or 2 kids a day, max. And it's going to be random. Well, not entirely random. We'll take the most jacked child we can find and put him in an indoor soccer arena or something. Or give him one of the little Tykes basketball hoops and let the other kids watch. We got to charge them for admission, though, because this is an entertainment source. Can't be just giving that out for free. We got to make sure they can bet on this, though. That's the American dream right there on their kids' prize picks account. Parlay money. God, this concept's still a work in progress. Let me know if you got any ideas for the pro athlete possibility. I was going to do Amazon shipping warehouse worker, but it seems another one of the kid cities already has that covered. So maybe we can just have half our kid workforce do something else. Maybe Starbucks workers on strike. Yeah, let's have them do Starbucks workers on strike. Not Starbucks workers, but Starbucks workers on strike. No making coffee. Kids don't even like coffee. We're going to have them make picket signs. This will be their version of the Krusty Krab Unfair SpongeBob episode. Earning wongas will be the same as before. It's pretty hard to mess that up. You are going to have to hand over half of them whenever you earn them because kids need to learn about taxes, which is something we could never count on the regular general public education system for. Any old wongas your parents might be able to dig up from their visit are still good and can be given to you, which will help teach about the importance of creating generational wealth. That's about it. Am I missing anything? I think we created a pretty great amusement center that's both practical and realistic while still being fun and informative, right? I didn't even realize this until now, but Defunct Land already made a way more informative video about kid cities and their origins as well as their current state. I'm even probably going to throw in a couple clips from that into this video.
Today's citizens and junior capitalists can still take up work as a food worker or a firefighter, But new jobs such as Amazon fulfillment warehouse employee and Amazon delivery driver showcase the passage of time in an unsettling way. In its current form, Kid Cities act as a supplement to academics, with at most a few weeks of curriculum for the education centers and a focus on entertainment for the fun centers. Kid Cities are able to escape most criticism. But concerns over the presentation of heavier topics and the infiltration of advertising on impressionable minds should be a continuing conversation, and likely deserves more thought than it has been given over the past 40 years of Kid Cities.
Or, I mean, if you're just intrigued with any of what I talked about and want a deeper dive into the details of Wanadu City and beyond, they're super thorough and show off a lot more visually than I will. Let me ask you though, have you ever been to any of these Kid Cities? Maybe you went to Wanadu City? Maybe you bumped elbows with me at one point in Fort Lauderdale? Maybe you yelled all sorts of nonsense on the flight simulator next to me? Let me know. Let me know in the comments if you have any thoughts. Maybe you've got ideas that would fit my new Wanadu City. Open to suggestions. Thanks for watching.
Of course. Fuck, it's genius. Why didn't I think of that?